At 2:03 a.m., my security feed lit up like a horror movie. Night vision, shaky glare, and a woman in a pearl-white blazer slamming her shoulder into my brand-new steel gate. She screamed my name into the dark like it was a curse, then tried the keypad again and again and again, like the gate owed her something. 3 days later, the same woman would be standing in a packed town hall with a microphone in her hand and federal agents behind her. I'm Ethan Carter, and I moved out to Cedar Hollow County, Washington, because I needed quiet space and a reset for me and my 2 kids, Noah and Lily. After a divorce that felt like a slow leak, I wanted land and sky and a place where my phone didn't buzz every 2 minutes. I found a weathered ranch property with a gravel drive, an old barn, and enough distance from other people to actually breathe. The ranch sat right beside a pristine little development called Maple Ridge Estates, the kind of place with matching mailboxes and lawns trimmed like they're on payroll. I noticed the sign the first day, "Welcome Home" in fancy script, and underneath it in smaller letters, the threat disguised as a promise, "Homeowners Association rules apply." It was almost cute, until I learned the HOA didn't care where their boundaries ended. The first time I met Melissa Grant, she didn't introduce herself like a normal person. She appeared at the edge of my driveway in a white SUV, sunglasses on, engine still running like she was doing a stakeout. She stepped out holding a clipboard, scanned my moving truck, and said, "You can't park that there. It ruins the aesthetic." I blinked at her, then glanced at my property line marker like it might explain why this stranger was giving me orders on my own land. "Ma'am," I said, keeping my voice calm because my kids were watching from the porch, "this property isn't part of Maple Ridge Estates. I'm not in your homeowners association." Melissa smiled, the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. "Oh, honey," she said, drawing out the word like she was petting a dog, "everyone benefits from our standards. You'll learn how things work here." In the first week, it was little stuff, petty stuff, the kind that makes you question reality because it's so ridiculous. A county inspector showed up because someone reported illegal construction when I was replacing rotten steps. The utility company called about a gas smell complaint when all I did was run a generator for 10 minutes. I got a polite warning letter from Maple Ridge's HOA about exterior clutter that included a photo of my kids' bikes leaned against the garage. I walked over to the Maple Ridge clubhouse office thinking I'd clear it up face to face like an adult. Melissa was inside, sitting behind a desk like a judge, and she didn't even pretend to be surprised. She tapped the letter with a manicured nail and said, "We're just trying to maintain community values." "It's not your community," I said, slow and clear. "You don't have authority on my property." Melissa leaned back and sighed like I was exhausting her. "Authority is a funny word," she said. "We don't need authority to report concerns." And that's when it clicked. She wasn't trying to enforce rules on paper. She was trying to make my life annoying enough that I'd either fold or leave. The harassment turned into a routine like she scheduled it between brunch and Pilates. A neighborhood watch guy started parking across the road with binoculars like I was running a cartel out of my barn. People from the HOA board would stroll near my fence line and take photos, whispering like they were documenting a crime scene. Melissa herself showed up at least twice a week, always with the clipboard, always with the same fake sweet voice that sounded like a smile with teeth. Then she crossed a line that wasn't just annoying, it was personal. One afternoon I came home from picking up groceries and found Melissa on my porch, standing way too close to my front door like she belonged there. Noah and Lily were behind me, still buckled in the back seat, and I could feel them watching through the windows. Melissa held a plain manila envelope, and when she opened it, there were printed photos inside my kids walking from the school bus stop, Lily holding her backpack strap, Noah kicking a rock down the sidewalk. Melissa tilted her head like she was sharing a helpful tip. "Kids wander," she said. "Accidents happen on properties like yours. Wells tools animals. I'd hate for Child Protective Services to get involved if someone reports unsafe conditions." My stomach dropped so fast I felt it in my teeth. I didn't scream, and I didn't cry, and I didn't give her the reaction she wanted. I just stared at those photos and pictured my kids being questioned by strangers because a woman with a clipboard needed to feel powerful. I lowered my voice. "Get off my property." Melissa's smile didn't budge. "I'm just looking out for the community," she said, then turned and walked away like she'd done me a favor. That night after the kids were asleep, I sat at my kitchen table with a stack of inspection notices printed HOA letters and my phone open to my bank app. Repairs, lawyer consults, time off work. It was adding up. I wasn't spiraling into some dramatic inner monologue. It was worse than that, honestly. It was math. It was me thinking for the first time maybe it'd be cheaper to sell and start over somewhere else than to keep bleeding money, while Melissa treated my life like her personal project. Then Lily woke up thirsty and shuffled into the kitchen in her socks, rubbing her eyes. She leaned against my side, half asleep, and mumbled, "Is that lady coming back?" And that did it. Not some inspirational speech in my head, just a simple, brutal reality. If I left because Melissa bullied me, my kids would learn that someone loud enough can take your home without ever buying it. So I stopped playing defense and started collecting receipts. I installed cameras, not just one, but a full perimeter setup with clear angles on the driveway, the gate, and the fence line. I added a directional mic near the porch because Melissa loved talking when she thought she was untouchable. I printed a county parcel map and highlighted the actual boundaries. Then I went to the county records office and pulled easement documents until my eyes burned. That's where I found something interesting. Maple Ridge's Homeowners Association had been using a utility access path that brushed my land like they assumed it was theirs by default. It wasn't. And the paperwork tied back to board maintenance decisions signed off by Melissa Grant. Around the same time I met Ben, my mail carrier, who'd clearly seen this movie before. He handed me my mail, glanced toward Maple Ridge, and said low, "You're not the first one she's targeted." He wasn't exaggerating. Over the next week, I talked to Miguel Reyes, a contractor who'd done work in Maple Ridge and got stiffed after he complained about the board. I talked to Jiyun Park, who'd tried to run a small weekend food truck near the entrance and got buried in permit concerns the second Melissa decided she didn't like the smell of barbecue. They weren't dramatic people. They were tired people, the kind who'd learned the hard way that complaining in private doesn't change anything. Then the footage started coming in. Melissa showed up one morning and parked her SUV across my driveway, blocking me in. I walked out with my keys in hand, and she didn't even look embarrassed. She held up her clipboard and said, "We've had complaints about unauthorized fencing." "It's a gate," I said, pointing, "on my driveway. It impacts the community," she said. I stepped closer, keeping my tone controlled. "Move your vehicle." Melissa finally looked at me, and her voice sharpened. "You think you can shut us out? You think you can build your little fortress and ignore the standards not here?" My camera caught every syllable, and when I said, "Are you threatening me?" she actually rolled her eyes. "I'm warning you," she said, then smirked. "There's always a way in." 2 days later, my mailbox was smashed, and someone tried to scorch the wooden post like they were practicing intimidation. The footage wasn't perfect, but the silhouette, the posture, the way the person moved it, was unmistakably her. And the cherry on top. She showed up the next morning, acting shocked, hand over her mouth like a soap opera. "Oh my God," she said. "Who would do this? Are you sure you're safe out here?" I stared at her deadpan. "Melissa, you're on camera." For the first time, her smile twitched. Not gone, just cracked. That's when my attorney, Dana Russo, stepped in. Dana wasn't flashy. She was the kind of lawyer who wore simple suits and spoke like she'd rather be anywhere else than entertaining nonsense. She reviewed my footage, my documents, the HOA letters, and she said, "She's not just harassing you, she's building a pattern. And patterns are evidence." Dana filed formal notices, requested HOA financial records available through public channels, and started asking questions Melissa wasn't used to answering. And once we started pulling on that thread, things got ugly fast. Because the money didn't line up. Invoices labeled community maintenance that looked a lot like luxury landscaping at Melissa's address. Security upgrades that matched the same gate company she tried to bully me over. Vendor payments to friends of friends with no clear work documented. It wasn't a small mistake. It was a system. Melissa must have sensed the walls closing in because she made one last move, the kind that only a true HOA Karen thinks is clever. She pushed for an emergency town meeting under the banner of public safety, claiming my ranch posed a risk to children water lines and community access. Town hall night felt like walking into a trial I didn't ask for. The room was packed. Neighbors, board members, random locals who heard there'd be drama, and a reporter named Amy Keller sitting in the second row with a notepad and that look reporters get when they smell a real story. Melissa took the microphone like she owned it. She painted herself as the protector of Maple Ridge and painted me as the dangerous outsider. She talked about wells and tools and livestock like I was raising wolves in my backyard. She even did that fake tremble in her voice when she said, "I'm just worried about those children." I stood up when it was my turn, and my heart was pounding, but my voice didn't shake. I didn't give a speech. I didn't beg. I just said, I have video, I have records, and I have witnesses. Melissa laughed, actually laughed right into the microphone. "This is ridiculous," she said. "He's trying to intimidate the board." That's when Amy Keller stood up. "Before you vote," Amy said loud enough for the room to go quiet, "the public should know that Melissa Grant and the Maple Ridge Homeowners Association Board are currently under investigation for financial misconduct." Melissa froze so hard it looked like her body forgot what to do. The back doors opened and 2 federal agents walked in like they'd been there the whole time just waiting for the cue. Dana didn't look surprised. Miguel and Jiyun sat up straighter. And Melissa's face went pale in a way makeup can't hide. An agent asked for the microphone calmly, like he was ordering coffee. He played a short clip from my security feed. Melissa's voice crystal clear. "There's always a way in." Then another clip her blocking my driveway, threatening CPS with that same sweet tone, the kind that makes your skin crawl. Then the financial documents on the projector highlighted clean, undeniable payment dates, vendor names, and her signature. Melissa tried to talk over it, but her voice cracked. "This is harassment," she snapped, pointing at me like I'd orchestrated the entire universe against her. "He's doing this because he hates standards." One of the agents stepped closer, and the room got so quiet you could hear the air conditioner kick on. "Melissa Grant, he said you're being detained pending further investigation." Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again like she couldn't believe consequences were a real thing. "You can't do this," she hissed. "I run this community." The agent didn't raise his voice. He just turned her around. The click of the cuffs echoed through the microphone. Sharp, final, impossible to spin. And in that moment, Melissa Grant wasn't a queen or a rule enforcer or the HOA's untouchable Karen. She was just another person learning that paperwork cuts deeper than threats. Lesson loud, people don't own your life evidence does.